menu, and you're going to see that we don't need any of this. We don't need the unordered list tags. We don't need that. It'll work just fine with just that. So now we can go ahead and save the header. Then we want to go ahead and open the footer. So copy it and open our footer and go ahead and paste that. So now we pasted our template code into our footer file. We want to go ahead and pick up what's left in our HTML file, copy it, paste it below here, and move it up. Then we want to change quickly the information up here into our theme name, and in my case it's WP tutorial, and in your case it's your theme name. Then we're gonna go ahead and click save. We're done with that. Now, what about the sidebar? Well, we're gonna do the sidebar later. For now, we're just gonna leave it blank. Nothing's gonna happen with it. So that means we have to modify our index. This should probably still look familiar to you. It's the code that we prepared earlier for our index file. And now, as you noticed, we have not created the sidebar file yet, so we're gonna remove the get sidebar function call from this. That's not a problem because we don't really need a sidebar right now, and the sidebar does not interact with anything right now. So we're gonna hit save, and remember, this is how it looked. Okay, and when we now go ahead and activate the tutorial, we can preview it before. Well, that already looks pretty good. When we activate it and go back to our website, we see, wow, that's pretty much already what we wanted, right? And we can make a test post to see what posts would look like. We already have one that's the standard that comes with every WordPress installation, the Hello World post. We'll just add a new one, and we'll say post number 2, and we can go ahead and say today is a wonderful day for a new WordPress theme, and publish it. And then we see, oh, okay, this is how it's built. If we want to check out how it looks when there is no posts, then we can check mark them and move them to trash. And then we can go back and we see, okay, it has nothing to see. That's exactly how we wanted it, and that's exactly what we got. And our menu, of course, still works. Okay, so we can actually go ahead and create a new post, and we say our test post test, and publish it again. Look one more time. Looks good. That's how we wanted it. Now we've seen that this has sample page, but when we click sample page, it doesn't display anything. Well, that's easy. It's because we haven't made the page PHP template. And the page template in its easiest form is a copy of the index PHP. Well, we could go ahead and say, no, we don't want this page to be the same exact thing. We could give it an extra div. Or we could say, okay, on pages, I'm not really down with the secondary navigation, so we remove that. So we could say, okay, save, and we reload it, and there's no secondary navigation. While on the first page, there still is the secondary navigation. Now you can guess there's the single, and the single is, again, in the simplest case, the same exact thing. That's why if you do not create PHP files named single and page, WordPress will by default just load another instance of the index. But we have done this so we can adjust for any wishes or changes that we might have. However, I think it's fine if they look the same for now, so I'm changing everything back, and if we refresh this, then we see, oh yeah, it looks exactly the same, which is fine. Now, if we want to go to our single page, now since we just created the single.php file, we can make sure that we actually can get to that, and an easy way is to have the headline of each post that we're posting on the front page be also a link, and we do this like this. Now if we save that and take another look at our tutorial page, and we see, okay, it's a link. Now of course we have to adjust the CSS, and it will work, as we can see here. The color still would need some adjusting, but since this is tedious because we have to do this every time we change something, we can go ahead and say a link, a visited, a hover, text decoration none, and here's the important part. Put that at the very beginning, save, and it works. This is of course still a link and everything, and of course unfortunately it's still blue because the text color changes no matter. But we can also adjust for that by saying that whenever there is a link, it should inherit the color from the parenting tag, and now that of course leaves the user a little bit blind, so we can say, so we don't want to leave the user blind, as soon as it is visited or maybe just hover, the color will be, let's say, something that is just a little obnoxious, and orange instead of a yellow. So now when we load it, we can see, oh, this is apparently a link. Well, you don't have to do that. You can just say inherit the color every time. The next thing we want to do is we want to take a look at this here, and well, this is static right now and doesn't help us, so we want to adjust this, and so then instead of having admin here, we want to go ahead and say PHP the author, and we want to save that, and we want to reload our page, and you see it has changed into admin with lowercase a, and then we want to say we want to have the category, and last but not least, we want to add the date on which it was created, and that is being done like so. And if we did everything right, then we can take a look. And yeah, that looks like it worked. Well, of course, uncategorized is not such a cool category, but it is the category in which it is in. So now this concludes part 2 of our WordPress theming tutorial for wptutorial.info and CreativeCreed.com.